All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start this lesson off by giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to our brothers who are fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to the sincere Aqua, and Shalom to the scattered Israelites who are amongst these heathen nations and look like these heathens. Now, this is going to be another Iran war update. So through the Spirit, I'm going to read this article, get some precepts, and Lord's will, you're edified. It says, Israel attacks Lebanon as U.S. expects Iran's response to deal. It says, United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters that Washington should receive a response from Iran on Friday to a U.S. proposal to end the war. Iran's Fars news agency reported sporadic clashes and U.S. naval forces in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, said every time a diplomatic solution is on the table, the U.S. opts for a reckless military adventure and questioned whether Washington was engaged in a crude pressure tactic. Israeli attacks have escalated as the death toll mounts in Lebanon, with several people killed on Saturday, a day after dozens killed on Friday in one of the deadliest days since Israel's invasion and bombardment was launched on March 2nd. The U.S. State Department said that it would mediate 2 days of talks between Israel and Lebanon on May 14th and 15th in Washington, D.C. Yeah, but as you can see, there really is no peace out there. You know, the U.S. and Iran are still clashing, and Israel is still bombing Lebanon. So, you know, when people talk about peace in the Middle East, there really is none. And until the Lord returns, there won't be any. It's going to be constant conflict and chaos and violence. But it's all going to come to a conclusion very soon. Habakkuk 2 and 3, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. And that's right. Even though it seems like, things are just taking their sweet time, with these prophecies coming to pass so that, World War III can finally kick off and America can get nuked and the kingdom of heaven can be established. Things are actually exactly how the Lord wants them to be. They're moving at the pace that the Lord wants them to. Even though it's like, there's clashes between Iran and the U.S. and they're firing missiles and things back and forth at each other and things are very active. And then there's a ceasefire and things calm down for a little bit. And then things kick off again and then they calm down again. It just seems like just a back and forth. It seems like nothing's really going anywhere. But there's a lot more that's happening than what most people can see. Because the more there's attacks from both sides, and then there's a quote unquote ceasefire, the more chance that at some point neither side is going to come to the table for any type of negotiations, and they're just going to just go full out, attacks on each other. Because honestly, it's like a game of tug of war with them. And the Lord, he's gonna just turn things up. Because as long as this war is happening, the global markets, Salakia, particularly pertaining to oil, it's just going to increase more and more. And that's just going to continue to put a strain on these economies. So, like I've said, and other brothers have said as well, these other nations who have been not getting involved, they're going to be forced to. And this whole thing, this whole war has kicked off because of the United States and Israel. No matter how much Trump tries to spin the narrative and make himself seem like he's the good guy, he's not, because this was an illegal war from the beginning. And everybody knew that. And even, the US's allies have been saying that. Like, yo, this never should have even happened. And the thing is that the US is in too deep into this war. So Trump can't get out of it. He can't dig the US out of it. That's why he wants the other nations to help. He wants them to come in and aid because he can't get out of it. See, that's the pride of Esau right there. Attack somebody, not expecting them to fight back. And then when they do fight back, and they fight back with a lot more force than what you were anticipating, then, one, you try to demonize them and make them seem like the aggressors when they were perfectly fine until you attack them. And then Esau, he tries to make himself the victim, as if he didn't start this, if he didn't fire the first shot in the first place. And then he gets mad when his friends don't want to jump in on his behalf and help him end a fight, or in this case, a war that he started. Nobody asked for that, Nobody asked for Esau to start this war. And yet here we are. And then he has the audacity to call the leaders of these other nations or of these other, countries cowards and things like that. And it's like, how are they cowards? Because they don't want to involve themselves in something that has nothing to do with them, in the sense of they didn't start this war. You didn't consult them before you started this war. You just popped shit off and expected everybody to get involved. And all of these other nations, they're very quickly starting to hate the US. And the Lord is going to use that. And he's going to cause, all of these major world powers to turn on the US and nuke this place. And rightfully so, because America is just a wicked place. A very, very wicked place ran by very wicked people. The chief wicked people, which are the Edomites, the so-called self-proclaimed white people. And through the Spirit, I've been saying that there wasn't going to be any peace between the U.S. and Iran. Because the Lord does not want there to be peace. Slakia. Luke 12:51, suppose ye that I am come to give peace on earth? I tell you nay, but rather division. And that's clearly what's happening. Every time the US and Iran try to come to the table and have some peace talks or peace negotiations, usually the US ends up doing something that just throws all of that out the window. And then they're right back to fighting. And that's because the Lord doesn't want there to be peace. The Lord is using Esau, and in this particular case, Trump, to push America into this third world war. The U.S. is already in it. They're not getting out of it. But the Lord is now going to turn things up to the point where these other nations, they have to get involved as well. Because everybody, like I said, everybody's trying to stay out of it. They're like, this is not our mess to clean up. We're just going to stay out of it and try to, handle things on our own side as far as our civilians are concerned. Our population is concerned. But things are going to get to a point where they're like, this war has to stop. And the US and Iran, they're never going to see eye to eye. So these other nations, they're going to be forced to send their militaries in. And everybody who goes over there into that valley of Jehoshaphat, into that valley of decision, they're going to die. All of those soldiers that go over there, they're not coming back. And a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people really don't understand that these are the last days. This is Esau's last hurrah, Once the Lord brings Esau down, this time, he's never rising again. And Esau, at least the higher up Edomites, they know that. That's why they're trying so desperately to get their New World Order up and running. Because they think that if they can do that, it will stop them from being destroyed. But there is no stopping it, because the Lord has already set it in motion. The Lord has already written it, that Esau has but a short time, that his days were determined. Job 14:5, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. And that's right. Esau can't pass the bounds that the Lord has set for him. And Esau is very close to hitting that limit. That's why he's getting more aggressive. That's why he's getting more desperate. That's why every move he makes is less calculated and a lot more sloppy. Because they're scrambling. These Edomites are scrambling. They know that they're falling out of power. And they're scratching and clawing and throwing anything and everything at the wall and hoping that something sticks so that they can stay in power. But there's nothing that they can do. The Lord gave them a limit. And once they hit that limit, it's game over. And the fact that this war is even happening is just an indication of how close we are to Esau hitting his limit. He's a lot closer than what most people understand. But see, through the spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, those of us of the hopeful elect, we understand it. And that's why we're rejoicing. Because we know that our salvation is drawing more and more near by the day. And Esau's downfall is drawing more near by the day. So, those of us of the hopeful elect, we should be hoping that the Lord pushes things to the point where there is no more trying to have peace negotiations and peace talks, and it's just all out war. That's what we want. That's what we need. And we know it's going to happen. We just pray that the Lord speeds up the times and brings it to pass quicker so that we can get up out of here. with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. Closing, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakudash, the water Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to all the sincere Akwath. And shalom to the scattered Israelites who are amongst these heathen nations and look like these heathen. I hope you all